And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Fantasmagorium Show. I'm your host, Steve Foley, and I'm joined, as I am every day, by Scotty R37. Hey, Scott.
Ahoy! How was your weekend, Steve?
It was good. How was yours?
Uneventful. Actually, it was rather eventful. Birthdays and Father's Days and dog days. It was fantastic. It was a good couple of days.
Awesome. Yeah, I had a nice, relaxing weekend. Worked on some show stuff, relaxed a lot, watched a lot of TV, just kind of took it easy.
Oh, man, I woke up on Saturday morning and Star Trek V was playing, and it was like, oh, okay, this is what I'm doing with my morning, and then I got everything going.
That sounds like a lovely way to wake up.
It's not bad. I don't mind Star Trek V. So so to wake up to it is a good spritz to start a Saturday. But now that we're on Monday,
back to it.
Phantasmagoria Monday.
Back to the news and the entertainment news and all the entertainments. Anyways, let's jump right in.
Sure.
Shall we?
Yes.
First topic of the day was Matrix 4 seems to be now. There's this rumor that has been going around, but I think pretty much everybody's kind of settled in on the rumor that the new Matrix 4 movie is going to be titled Resurrections with an S. Resurrections.
I am totally fine with that.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
I like it.
Right. And we do have a reaction from somebody who's claimed to have seen the movie. Now, take this with a grain of salt. Obviously, there was no way to vet this person. But I guess we'll just jump in and said the Matrix Resurrections. This is what he said. It's from David Manning on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
It says the Matrix Resurrections screened this afternoon, and it's weird, meta, engrossing, surprisingly funny, and ambitious to a fault. I expect WOM to be a wildly mixed. Okay, let me read that again. I expect WOM to be wildly mixed, but the people who love it will love it.
I'm assuming WOM means word of mouth.
I think that's word of mouth.
Okay.
I didn't want to interject because I'm not sure, but I think it's word of mouth.
That's my guess.
He does follow it up and say this is definitely the work of Cloud Atlas Lana Wachowski and not Jupiter Ascending Lana Wachowski. So okay, that's a very interesting kind of take. I don't know if they actually screened the movie or not, but this sounds like exactly what I was expecting from this new Matrix movie. People who love the Matrix and are into it will love it. People that obviously didn't like the last two films probably would be like, meh. But I'd love to see some footage, and I hope we do get some footage soon. What do you think about this?
Well, I'm interested that obviously there'd be a work print that they would be able to screen if they are that far along in production. I don't know much about the production history of the Matrix Resurrections, if that is what it turns out to be called. But I celebrate the entire Matrix trilogy. I don't poo-poo on Reloaded or Revolutions, and Resurrections sounds like it would follow in the sort of title scheme. And also in reference to it being more Cloud Atlas than Jupiter Ascending. I've seen Cloud Atlas. I stayed away from Jupiter Ascending. And considering that this tweet, Mr. Manning says that it's engrossing, weird, and ambitious to a fault. Well, that sounds a lot like Jupiter Ascending. No, or not Jupiter Ascending, Cloud Atlas. Pardon me.
Cloud Atlas, right. I have heard a little bit more about this, and I don't know how true this is or not. Like I said, take this stuff with a grain of salt. It's just stuff we've been picking up, through the internet, on the webs, and no insider information. But it seems to me, because we have Neo, we have Keanu Reeves coming back. People are saying that the first three movies, at least the last two movies, but I think all three were actually like games inside of this universe. So that's an interesting perspective, and if that turns out to be true, so like it's almost like games, and you level through the games inside of this Matrix. I'm not sure. inside of this computer simulation. I don't know exactly how that is going to function or what it looks like, but that sounds very interesting.
And it does make sense considering spoilers for Matrix Revolutions. But at the end, when Neo is able to sort of see reality code, that would make sense that there was another layer on top. And if that's the plan to add another layer on top, that's fantastic. I would support it, and I want it to be good. I'm going to go into it wanting it to be a true sequel to the Matrix trilogy. Although I am reminded of other Part 4s that that sort of trashed the rest of the franchise. Although if that is the case with the fourth one, and I'm looking at you, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it makes people reassess the other movies with a little bit of a more forgiving eye.
I do kind of like the fact that if it's all just a computer a game, we're all living in a in the Matrix, in somebody's computerized version of reality, that basically the first three movies were levels, and each time you get to the end of the level, you go to a new one, you're right, that you just keep leveling up until, I mean, I kind of thought that's what happened in the third one when but maybe we'll see where she takes this new film, and if that all proves out to be actually correct. Very interesting too.
Very interesting, although the description through your speculation kind of reminds me of the TV show Reboot. Do you remember Reboot?
I did not see Reboot.
Reboot is a Canadian CGI animated television show from the early 90s, and it was about the mainframe where programs lived, and then the user would drop a game into the mainframe, and the main characters would have to fight off the players to ensure the safety of mainframe. And so it if you get a chance, I'm sure that there are about 1,000 retrospectives on YouTube. But yeah, it kind of, what you're discussing kind of reminds me of Reboot, which is not a bad thing.
Right. No, that sounds interesting. Yeah. So let's see. So they did, and I'm not going to be able. For some reason, this is not allowing me to do what I wanted to do here. So my apologies for technical difficulties. I was trying to share a new photo that dropped this morning as we segue right into our second topic. Shazam 2 reveals new costumes. Now, I was trying to get that up, and for some reason, because I'm very new at this and this thing doesn't want to be cooperative, we'll just say that if you haven't seen the new costumes, they're all over the internet. Look it up on Twitter or Facebook or just do a quick Google search and you'll find it. What did you think about these new costumes? Are you excited about this movie at all? Did you like the first one? And what do you think about the new costume reveal this morning?
I did see the first one. I liked it. I thought it was fun. It was definitely a different take, especially considering the other DC movies. It was much more lighthearted. I really enjoyed it. I kept getting taken out of the movie because it was filmed in and around Toronto, and so it was sort of like a game of, oh, I know that place.
Oh, man, yeah.
But one of the it's just if you don't know, it won't bother you, but if you do, it does. But I did find at least the Shazam outfit to look a little bit too bought from a costume store, sort of like with the puffy muscles and whatnot. And taking a look at the costumes for the sequel, I do like these a lot more.
Yeah, you could tell they're not don't have the pillow stuffing like the first one, for sure.
Right.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. After you.
No. And so I do like the sleeker kind of. It looks like a little bit of sleeker design. These things will actually look really good, I believe, on screen and after all the touching goes on to in post. But I was a fan of these. I wasn't a huge fan of the first movie. I liked it enough. It was a little too comedy, a little too on the nose for me. So I'm hoping that they kind of get rid of those elements in the second one, but I doubt it. They'll probably lean more heavily into it. But, it made a lot of money. People seem to like it. So, I'm pretty jazzed to see what comes next. But I like the family, the Shazam family. So that's going to be interesting. That was my favorite part of the movie was the end.
Yes. So, absolutely. When they all came together, that was the in my opinion, and it's something because I'm not really steeped in Shazam lore or Captain Marvel lore. I don't know a whole heck of a lot aside from the basics of Billy Batson saying Shazam turning into Captain Marvel. As it goes in the comics, I know that they can't say that in the movies, but I really enjoyed the team.
I believe I'm informed more about the Saturday morning not cartoon but live action show.
Oh, okay.
Than the comics because I didn't read the comic.
Well, and I caught the comics through like as a side character with Shazam, not necessarily through his own books, but I am familiar with them. And there's been some, and I like the lighthearted adventure. I agree with you that it was a bit too much on the goofy side. And maybe not lean into that, but sort of redirect it into sort of more of the adventure aspect. And also, these characters in the second movie, they're not going to be, I don't want to say bumbling, but discovering their powers and discovering how to do things. So hopefully there'll be some confidence with their humor. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that. I don't know exactly when that is going to drop. I believe it's 2022. I know they're obviously they're in the midst of filming that right now, so I think it's probably around this time. I would assume it's a summertime release, 2022. But we'll update you when we get more information on that. It says, according to Comic Book, it says that it is opening on June 2nd, 2023. Oh, 2023. So yes, sir. We're well ahead of time. So we still have plenty of time for that to get done. Okay. I was wondering if they were actually shooting or is this just still prep work? No, apparently they began production in May. Okay. Perfect. Well, that works for me. Now, and will that arrive after Black Adam? Ooh, that's a good question. I'm not 100% sure what's going on with that, although I don't know. I don't know what the DC slate looks like. That'll be. I will look into that and we'll update. We'll bring that to you tomorrow. Perfect. We can take a look at that. Figure out what that slate is. I know they don't always stick to their slates, and they don't always release them either. This is true. Yes. So we'll get what we can get, and then get it back to you as soon as possible. Okay. Next up. Okay. So we had so much fun. At least I had so much fun on Friday, doing the trailer. Kind of reaction and screening and that kind of thing. So I found another one. I found another trailer that. If you haven't seen it, you should go back and check out the discussion surrounding Pig, the new Nicolas Cage. There'll be truffle. Yes, it will be truffle. It was a lot of fun. We clipped it out, so if you want to just watch that segment is clipped out on the channel. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. So we want to do that again today for a movie that I found coming from. IFC, I think it's called IFC Midnight, and it's basically their movie house, starring Sophia Boutella, Johnny Lee Miller, and it's kind of a sci-fi indie film called Settlers. So, without further ado, let's jump into that and see what we can do.
There's strangers nearby.
No, it's just us.
I'm scared.
There's nothing to be scared of. No one's gonna mess with you, kid. What about that one?
That's Ursa Major.
And how about that big bright one?
Is it Earth?
Very good.
Did you ever see a whale?
No.
How about an elephant?
Earth isn't what it once was.
Is that why you left?
We left because we wanted something more. We're very lucky to have this place. lock the door behind me.
Dad! Dad! Mom?
This place doesn't belong to you. But I've come a long way. And I'm here to stay. I know how to get this place back on its feet. And I can protect you. But you can leave if you want.
Mom, we can leave now.
No, Rem, we can't.
So you want to know what's out there? Nothing. There's nowhere else left. Cities, other settlements, all gone. The sooner that you accept it, the sooner you realize we have everything we need. Right here.
Wow.
Okay. Well, that looked interesting. So for me, I'll just jump in real quick, Scott, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
I'm a sci-fi nut, so this is pulling every feel for me, tugging on it and saying yes, you need to watch. That's great. So I love Sophia Boutella. I think I think I first saw her or became really aware of her in the Star Trek movie, the third one. I think it's called Into Darkness.
No, the third one's Beyond.
Oh, Beyond. I stand corrected. Thank you very much. Yeah,
It's cool, buddy.
Beyond.
It's cool.
The Into Darkness was the god awful one. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So she was into Beyond, and I really like that movie. Out of the three, I think that's probably my favorite one.
Mine too.
And she was definitely one of the main reasons that movie works so well. Johnny Lee Miller, I loved him since Hackers. Obviously, he was a great Sherlock Holmes in their that updated kind
Elementary
show on CBS. So love him too. This looks really good. This looks very, very interesting, and I'm pretty much I'm there for it. What do you think?
I like the vibes of it. Like, I don't know which planet they are settling, and I'm really enjoying these because these are me going in completely blind. I don't even know what they're about, and so, but I like the idea of settling on a different planet and the domes and everything, and that's an interesting aspect that I wasn't expecting, and it almost gave me, and I know it's not an alien in the movie, but it gave me sort of the Thing vibes with an isolated group of people with an outside threat. Right. That looks really interesting. We'll see. And if you can show me a live action Wall-E clone, I'm fine with that. And that little robot had my heart already.
I know. As soon as I saw it, I think I actually made a reaction. I was like, "Oh, cool! That looked great." I'm like, "Oh, perfect." Mm-hmm. Let's see. IFC Midnight releases a trailer for upcoming science fiction movie Settlers. Sophia Boutella, Johnny Lee Miller. In theaters and video on demand July 23rd. So we don't have to wait long.
Excellent.
About a month. Just about a month away. See it in theaters. Will probably most likely be more people will catch it on the VOD simply because I doubt it's going to get a very wide release. Mm-hmm. But if I can find it, and if it plays at my local theater, I'm definitely going to check this one out.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it looks tense. It looks and we want to make a home invasion movie. How do we make this interesting and different from other home invasion movies? I don't know. Put it on another planet. Sounds good.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Greenlit.
Totally. A stranger. Cordova arrives telling the family that they don't belong there. That's exactly what we saw. He intends to stay. Wyatt Rockefeller wrote and directed Settlers. His feature film debut after producing several shorts, two of which he wrote and directed. Okay, cool. So we have first-time filmmaker. a feature filmmaker, anyways.
Yeah.
It looks good. I like the look of the film. It feels like that kind of, dystopian sci-fi vibe to it. So I'm interested to see it, and hopefully, hopefully it'll play around here. If not, I'll do it on VOD, and maybe we'll do a review of it.
Yeah.
Kind of come back around on the show, because that's very interesting.
Well, I do like both of the not both of the stars, but the two leads with Sophia Boutella and Johnny Lee Miller. Like, I will watch them do stuff, and so that does look interesting.
It does. Yeah, these are fun. I think we're going to keep doing these. I'll keep my eye out for these cool little films that maybe not everybody has seen the trailers to, and we'll do these reactions. Obviously, when big trailers drop, we'll probably do some of those too. But I like kind of these going in blind and checking these kind of indie films, or kind of out of the way films. That's good.
Something off the radar.
Yeah. Speaking of trailers, a brand new trailer dropped today for Snake Eyes, the G.I. Joe Origins trailer film.
G.I. Joe Origins.
I know. I don't know why they have to do that. Just call it Snake Eyes or whatever you want. You don't have to. I don't think
Can't call it Snake Eyes. Nicolas Cage movie from the early 90s called Snake Eyes. They had to do something. I guess you could.
They could have done. I think they could do. The Fast and Furious did this, or from the book of. Let's just name these things, and I think the audience is sophisticated enough now, and probably always was, to know the difference between these things.
Or you could call it like G.I. Joe codename Snake Eyes or something like that.
Right.
But as soon as I saw that it was called G.I. Joe Origins, I was like, but this went so well when they did that for Wolverine.
Right. Perfect.
So
anyway, I did see it. I actually think this is the exact trailer they showed before A Quiet Place 2 when I went and saw that. So I was shocked. I was like, wait a minute, I haven't seen this yet. All the other trailers that played before that movie I had seen, but I'm like, well, maybe I just missed it. But no, I think they just gave us a preview and then decided to drop the trailer today. Did you get a chance to see it, and what were your thoughts?
I did see it. It looks like an action movie. I guess Scarlet and the Baroness are in there as well as side characters to sort of tie it into the larger G.I. Joe universe proper. But one of my favorite things about Snake Eyes, like I was a G.I. Joe fan growing up. Heck, I think they have a 24-hour streaming channel on YouTube where they play all the old G.I. Joes. All the G.I. Joe cartoons. I just recently watched the remake of G.I. Joe Renegades, I think it's called. And yeah, I'm a huge fan of G.I. Joe, and this trailer did absolutely nothing for me. I don't want to know what happened to Snake Eyes before he was Snake Eyes. And thankfully they didn't show Storm Shadow, but I'm assuming that one of those people has to be Storm Shadow. I don't want the mystique of those two brothers to be lifted, except for when they discuss it to like their distant paths, like when they're raised together. But I don't. This doesn't do anything for me at all.
Yeah, I seeing it on the big screen, I enjoyed the action pieces that were there. There's a lot of that. I like Henry Golding. I think he's amazing. But like you, I was like, yeah, okay. I'm not a G.I. Joe guy, especially the movies. I haven't liked any of the movies.
No.
So I didn't see anything that makes me think it's going to be, an amazing kind of reboot of the franchise, because it's a kind of an origin prequel out. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
It looks like a good action movie, and that's what I mean in terms of it doesn't dissuade me in terms of the filmmaking. It's just not necessarily a story that I want to see. Hell, make a Destro Origins movie, and I am in the seat, because I know his origins somewhat, but I would love it to be, and not like Christopher Eccleston in the first G.I. Joe movie, but like the actual, I don't know, how he gets the helmet put on. And I suppose they did that in the first one, but I didn't like that one. I don't know. It just doesn't. It doesn't play on my GI Joe heartstrings. Although it is always nice to see the Baroness.
Yeah. So this is actually going to be in theaters July 23rd. Another July 23rd release. So if you are a fan of Snake Eyes, and if you're a fan of this franchise, go see it on July 23rd. I don't know that I will see it in theater. This is a movie I probably catch when it comes to streaming for free. But there it is.
Well, and by the time we hit July, hopefully I'll be having the ability to go and hit up a cinema. And so I guess it depends on what else is playing.
Right. Like Settlers. Right.
Oh, I would rather see Settlers than see Snake Eyes. Yes.
Yeah, me too. So the next item up for bid, Godzilla vs. Kong finally crossed 100 million at the domestic box office. I don't know why they say finally, but I suppose they thought maybe it would do better. But I thought it did great for when the movie dropped. Coming out of the tail end of what appeared to be the tail end of the pandemic here in the States. So I thought it showed strong.
Well, but as you said, it was the tail end of lockdowns and not having access to go to the cinemas. I think it was the one that was sort of the big blockbuster to say we're open in different regions as cinema goers.
Right.
But a lot of the people that I spoke to, and when I watched it on demand. I watched it at home. But I think a lot of people were still in the mindset of watching it at home. And also it was surrounding that, wasn't that surrounding the Warner Brothers controversy of releasing the same day and date on HBO Max?
It was because it was one of the, if not the first of the year that came out that way. I watched it at home as well. I actually, I wasn't a huge fan of the movie. I did think it was good. I did like Godzilla King of the Monsters better. But it was fine for what it was.
What? Yes. It was fine.
100 million at the box office, I think, for when this movie came out is decent.
Well, and A Quiet Place 2, it rose to 100 million much faster, did it not?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
And so maybe that's the reason for the finally crosses the 100 million domestic box office, because it wasn't as quick to pick up steam as Quiet Place 2. So I think that they had a lot of eggs in the Godzilla versus Kong basket, and Quiet Place 2 actually did better than that in terms of getting people into theaters.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Either way,
I think it was just a little too early, obviously, for people to feel comfortable to go back to the theater. And most theaters were either closed or at 25% capacity. So they were just never going to put up the numbers that A Quiet Place 2 was able to get as fast as they got it. But this comes from Variety. And a long-awaited box office milestone, Godzilla vs. Kong has finally hit the $100 million mark in the U.S. Warner Brothers and legendary tentpole opened in theaters and on HBO Max early April, collecting a then pandemic best of 32 million over the weekend. So we were right. 32 million at the time was still the best in a year. The best box office in a year. So now, after playing in multiplexes for 12 weeks, its domestic tally sits around $100.113 million. Okay, I mean I think that's good for that movie. As given the times it was in and when it got dropped onto theaters, and obviously with the day and date thing, we'll have to see how much the day and date effect happens to movies when the theaters are fully open here over the rest of from this summer going on for the rest of the year. It'll be interesting to see if we can pull any data out of whether or not that day and date for these Warner Brothers releases are actually hurting box office, or is it actually going to, in conjunction with the box office, actually get the film seen by more people?
Well, and when it comes down to it, it's going to be a profit variable, and so it'll be interesting to find out those numbers. And now that you mention it, just in terms of finally crosses in the 100 million at the domestic box office, I keep reading the title because it's easy. It's my favorite cue card. But it being that way, and with sort of a trickle release schedule coming over the summer, I may actually have to go and check that one out in theaters when it becomes possible, just because that is a movie that should be seen on the big screen. I would love to. Yeah,
right.
Come on, giant lizard, giant monkey fight. I want to see that in the... Oh!
Right. So just a little addendum to since we're talking box office, The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard tops an uneventful Father's Day weekend, writes Box Office Mojo. And I don't have that, unfortunately, right in front of me, but that I still think if you can find it. Oh wait, hold on. I think I might have it. Oh, here we go. So it opened with 11,675,000 in 3,331 theaters, which is not bad. I mean, that's a wide opening.
Mm-hmm.
But it only so the grosses right now, domestic 17 million, international 80, and worldwide obviously 17. $17 million is low. I think even for this movie, I don't think we obviously didn't think it was going to be hundreds of millions of dollars, but I think they were looking for a better opening, probably in the 25 to 30 range, and it fell pretty short of that. Other than that, the rest of the weekend, it just, for the box office,
yes,
just wasn't great. It was kind of a poor weekend for the box office. And I don't know if that has to do with Father's Day. Seems to me like that'd be a cool thing to do on Father's Day, is to go to the movies with your dad. Or take your dad to the movies. But I'm sure, a lot of people just hang out and, do a barbecue or whatever.
But if you look at the top three of the weekend, The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard is probably not a movie that I'm going to take my dad to go see. Then you got A Quiet Place 2, not necessarily my dad's jam, and Peter Rabbit 2, certainly not.
Right.
And I think we are dealing with a world that has been inside for a long time, and so I think that there may also be some contributing factors of, do I want to go sit inside for 2 hours on a June evening?
Right.
But it really is. It is a situation where the bigger movies, I think, are going to cream, and by cream, probably about 32 to 40 million when we do get up to something, and gradually increasing as people get more comfortable. But something like A Quiet Place 2, even when I saw the trailer, it kind of reminded me of Red 2. And it just sort of a perfunctory sequel. And it's not that I disliked The Hitman's Bodyguard, but for that sort of action comedy, it really didn't sort of set the zeitgeist on fire. Right. And so the sequel, it seems just sort of like let's do another one. And
sure.
So
this one made a little bit of money. Let's do another one.
Yeah, and so I will check it out when it is when it hits Netflix or when it's available on demand. But it's not something that I would necessarily. I think the only way I would see it on a giant screen is if it was a paired double bill at a drive-in.
Right.
It would, just my opinion, though.
Yeah. So I agree. I wasn't a big fan of the first one, so this one I was definitely not rushing out to the theater to see this one.
Like, I would rather, in terms of Ryan Reynolds movies, I'm more excited for Free Guy than I am for The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. So. 100%. Okay, so the box office suffered this weekend, but we'll look towards next weekend and the upcoming. July is always going to be hot. I know that the pandemic has shuffled everything around a little bit, but I think in July we should start seeing some bigger numbers for these weekend box office totals. So we'll keep our eye on that, and probably by the end of this week, around Thursday or Friday, maybe even the middle of the week, Wednesday, we'll kind of do a rundown on what's coming up, take a little sneak peek at what's releasing this upcoming weekend, and we'll bring you that on Wednesday or Thursday.
And we have
Next,
the
go ahead.
Fast and the Furious next week.
Fast Night, I believe so. I believe that drops on Thursday. So we'll let you guys know. And you probably already know, but if you're watching this show, you probably know.
Yeah.
IndieWire says Lynn Ramsey set Joaquin Phoenix reunion with Polaris, also starring Rooney Mara. So I don't know if you. So she did this great movie with Joaquin called "You Were Never Really Here."
Mm-hmm.
It's a movie that I don't think a lot of people saw, but wow, was it a good movie? In my opinion, is one of the better kind of movies that no one saw. You know, that didn't get a big release, kind of cruised under the radar. And I think I saw it, I want to say on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
I pulled it up and I was like, oh man, Joaquin Phoenix movie. Boom. Let's see what this is all about. And wow, it blew me away. I was like, oh geez, it's a great movie. So it looks like they're going to team back up for this new movie called Polaris. Did you see You Were Never Really Here?
No, but I have heard incredible things about it. That it was quite good, and it is on the ever growing list of movies that I want to see, and especially following Joaquin's Oscar win for Joker. I know that was last year, but it was the follow up, wasn't it?
Say that
You
again?
were never You Were Never Really Here the follow up to Joker. Just in terms of,
I believe that was his second, the movie he did right after that, but I'm not entirely 100% sure.
and it's just something that you can't deny that he's a brilliant actor, and yeah. I would like to see that. And also, is that about a hitman or professional killer?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Yeah. And so I have heard good things about it, and
it's really good.
Sort of an introspective performance. And so pairing those two together would be interesting. Again, a quieter movie, but definitely something that would kind of remind me of a Nicholas Winding Refn kind of situation.
Right. She says of Joaquin Phoenix, and we're talking Lynn Ramsey, says he's crazy, but he's the best actor I've ever met. So that, I mean, obviously, you know, she really enjoys working with him and finds his talent immense. And probably because she was able to wrangle in his crazy during the first movie, she can do it again. So Polaris looks interesting. We'll keep an eye on that, and we'll bring you more information as it becomes available. But I thought that was interesting news, and I love Rooney Mara too. So anytime she's on screen, her and her sister, I think they're great actresses, and I like watching them both in film. So go ahead.
It's an exciting combination when you have a director and an actor that are sort of copacetic, in line together, syncretic. It's nice to explore that with the two of them, and if they are confident in the story that they're telling, I look forward to it as well.
Yeah, me too. And I think our last story now, and this isn't a huge story, but it will be the last story that we cover today. Before we go on to some comments and wrap this thing up. Marvel's Kevin Feige teases more MCU prequel films after Black Widow. Now, I know that a lot of people are going to read that and go, oh, no, not more prequel films. But it's ripe for good material. It's ripe for good movies, these good stories to be told. And I think it's a way for the MCU, because the MCU is so coherent and such an episodic type of, all-encompassing universe, that it's a way to tell one-off stories without having to be in continuity.
Yes.
So you can tell these one-offs in these kind of prequel films. I know we're not going to get. I mean, obviously, we're not going to get, great movies about characters that's outside of the MCU. But at least this is a way for them to explore some of these other stories in these prequel type situations, and hopefully they don't all have to be origin stories. They're just kind of prequel stories about, about a certain time that's not in the current chronology of MCU films. Anyways, that's kind of my take. What did you think about this news?
I have absolutely no problem with one-off adventures from underserved characters and heroes that we've seen in the MCU. I know that when we were reading the first reactions to Black Widow, one of the tweets did specify that they thought that they were going to be upset by knowing the logical story progression of Natasha Romanoff, but that wasn't the case. It was still an exciting adventure. And so it would be interesting to go and revisit some of the MCU heroes from one-off adventures that happen before they go. It's an interesting thing to mine, because I think that, like, Peggy Carter had a prequel series, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. continued on after, and I'm just thinking of characters who have died and then come back for more stories.
Sure.
It'll be interesting to see which heroes they wanted to do. Like, I'd be down for a 60s set Janet Van Dyne and Hank Pym adventure.
Right.
And that would be cool.
It's interesting, if you'd allow me to interrupt.
Please.
It's interesting that they're talking about movies and not TV shows, with obviously their access to Disney Plus and the success of the 3 shows so far. It seems to me that if you wanted to tell these prequel type stories, that's where you tell them, on Disney Plus, not in the 2-hour multiplex film going experience. That's just me. I do tend to like longer form storytelling, but more than just a 2-hour movie. But that's interesting to me that Feige is kind of, he's not ruling out the possibility of more movies and not telling those in TV form.
I don't know how they're going to be moving forward with the Hulk, but if they wanted to go back and do a flashback prequel for Bruce Banner and the Hulk, when he was still dealing with turning into the Rage Monster and not being Professor Hulk, that would be interesting. But I think that's a rights issue problem. I don't think they can actually do, but television is different, I believe. I'd have to review the SLA, the contract. Right? We'll call legal. Call legal and see what the service level agreement is on using Hulk. I know they can't do movies titled The Hulk, but I do think that they might be able to do TV shows. So that's interesting. But there's a bunch of other characters that that would be interesting in a kind of a prequel thing. But it seems to me Disney Plus is a better place for that. Could be a budgeting issue as well, because I don't think that you would be able to get Scarlett Johansson committed to a 6 or 10 episode Black Widow show. I'm not sure. I guess they are getting Jeremy Renner for for Hawkeye. Yeah. So we shall see. But I agree with you. It seems like more of a Disney Plus show would be more successful. It could be a budget, and it could just be the one-off, or if you want to build a bigger star-powered cast around.
Sure.
So, but whatever they release, I will consider it carefully.
Yeah, interesting nonetheless. And that's what I want to do with the show. I'm gonna, pull out some cool and interesting tidbits, and we'll just talk about them, and we'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
We can always come back to these and kind of go as we get new information.
Oh, I can't wait until you're.
It's funny when people ask Kevin Feige these things, because he's really good at answering these questions, for one, but two, I mean, I don't know how much information he's really giving, and I think a lot of times people kind of read into his statements a little more than they should. So, I doubt we're going to get a prequel movie, another one like Black Widow, anytime soon. I mean, that's just me.
And I agree with you. I don't think we will, but I think that Kevin Feige sort of painted himself into a corner, because I think it was a couple of years ago that he said that there were stories laid out for the Marvel Cinematic Universe until 2027.
I think.
And so people are responding to okay, so tell us, you have this chart. I want to know.
Yeah, they want to see the chart.
Yeah, and as it moves forward, we'll all. You don't want to tease too much too far out, but I'll start worrying about things that are happening after Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness after that movie comes out.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely.
Or Guardians 3. I think those are the two that are the farthest out.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, we eventually, I think as not planned, we don't have dates, but there's still Blade. So I think the furthest reaching one is Blade, with no dates or anything tied to that yet. But we shall see. That's going to take us that might take us right into that 2025 date when we get through most of these movies, depending on how fast we can spin the wheels back up after the pandemic. If we're going to start, if 2023, 2024, we're going to get 3 or 4 movies that year, then, obviously that'll move up the timeline drastically.
I almost forgot about Fantastic Four.
Yeah, that's there too.
So
so there's plenty on the way from Marvel, and we'll look forward to all that. I'm actually enjoying the Disney Plus shows tremendously.
Absolutely.
So I think they have if they play it right, they're going to be masters of both domains, which they should be. They're content providers.
Adding more color and adding more detail and stories to the MCU, I found the Disney Plus shows to be great, and. I will consider everything, even I have no knowledge of Shang-Chi. I'm still going to go see it.
Yeah, so absolutely. Yeah. They've earned my ticket with the 23 movies so far. Not everyone's the best in the world. Not everyone's the worst. There's good days and bad days for everybody. And the MCU is no different. They have great movies, they have mediocre movies, and they have some that aren't great. But even their worst movies, are so-called the worst movies in that list of 23, I still find to be very enjoyable. So they've earned it for me, and they've earned my $12 or whatever the going rate of a ticket is. And Absolutely. I will see probably until they really disappoint me. I mean, and that'll take a lot because I pretty much love everything. Until they disappoint me or really shit the bed, I'm there for it. So we'll be looking forward to that. And if they want to do these, prequel films, just all I ask, like I ask from every filmmaker, just make it the best you can. Just do your best. Just make good stories and good movies, and I'll watch them. Anyways, we have one comment. There we go. Tim Myers. Well, hello there. Well, hello, sir. Right back.
General Kenobi.
Yeah.
It's good to see you, Tim.
Yep, it is nice to have Tim.
You.
Yeah, right. Nice to have Tim watching. So I think that'll do it for us today. Unless you have any other wise words for today.
No wise words, but I just did want to direct people over to Black Phillip Alvarez's channel. We did our episode 2 recap review, spoiler filled. And we had Ben from Cinema Gulp, and it was a great time. And if you guys like to listen to us discuss it, it's a good time. I recommend you should watch.
Absolutely. And also, please, everybody, like, subscribe, and please comment. Subscriptions are great. Likes are great, but comments and interaction are really the bread and butter. The more comments we get, the more we'll interact with you guys. And we love the comments, and we hope to have more interactions on the show with you guys. So if you can do that, we very much appreciate it. And until next time, for Scotty R37, I am Steve Foley. Have a great day, everybody.
See you guys.